by the police.
We've had some difficulties along the route, and there are certain towns we've been prevented from going through. We don't like that, but we feel that that demonstrates the fact that in Northern Ireland we have a situation like the southern states of America, where you do not have the basic democratic liberty of free procession.
We are not afraid. We are not afraid.
On the fourth day, the march was stopped near Derry. The marchers were told that there were Protestants armed with homemade weapons ahead. District Inspector Hood warned them that they might be stoned, but did not suggest that the march should be rerouted. After some discussion, it was agreed that the police would escort the marchers over Burntollett Bridge.
Police have said they are quite prepared to get us through this obstacle. And if we all keep in very close formation on the right-hand side of the road, the people throwing the stones will be on high ground on the right-hand side. If we keep in close formation on the right-hand side under the hedge, keeping well into the right-hand half of the road, then we should be okay.
The marchers walked into a carefully prepared trap. Loyalists were waiting on the hillside above the road. Many of the attackers were off-duty B Specials, the reserve police force. Police protection had been inadequate.
By the mere fact that they were going marching through loyalist areas, this in itself was provocation, as far as many Protestants saw it. And they reacted, well, you had your Burntollett and the waterside fracas and this type of thing. And basically it was because of the fact that the Protestant population feared this Republican threat and feared this Marxist threat. And this is the only way in which they could react against it.
The state was utterly sectarian, and that it was important to demonstrate the depth of the sectarian reality of the state to outside opinion. And that, I think, was the basic strategy behind the Burntollett March, where it was known that the march would meet resistance. But the point was to demonstrate that it was not possible to march from between the two major cities of Northern Ireland without being attacked by loyalist thugs, and to put to the test the state, to put to the test the state's forces.
The march had made its point. Its rapturous welcome by Derry Catholics illustrated how it had further polarized the two communities. The authority of moderates in Northern Ireland was further undermined. That night, the police went into the Bogside, the Catholic district of Derry, and, to quote a government report, were guilty of assault and battery, malicious damage, and the use of provocative, sectarian, and political slogans. Northern Ireland was at the point of no return. The 11th of January, 1969. This civil rights march was scheduled to pass through the centre of Newry.
Last night, the local committee, on your behalf, made a decision. That decision was that they would not accept any reroute on this march. They would not accept this unjust and tyrannical ban imposed by the discredited Unionist government. It is our view that we cannot go forward and accept any reroutes.
The parade will not be permitted to turn left at this point.
Order! Order!
I would now appeal to you all to be sensible in this matter and to continue a peaceful parade along the route which has been laid down.
The civil rights movement up to now has followed a policy of non-violence. Now, are we going to let down the decent people of this country? No! There are a lot of people who have suffered. Now, is their suffering going to be in vain? Or can we wait for a few more months to get the reforms which must inevitably come?
We'll fight them. One goes on. We'll fight them. Come on! Come on!
As the stewards lost control, Catholic demonstrators were for the first time violent.
But I have also said that if there should arise a crisis in this land, when I would be needed to enter the political arena, I would not hear, but I would go with the support of the Protestant people of Ireland. That if there is an election in the near future in Ulster, whether in prison or out of prison, I'm going to fight O'Neill and Van.
Paisley was now emerging as a major Protestant politician. In February 1969, Protestant demonstrators in Belfast were chanting, "O'Neill must go." Then in March and April, there were bomb attacks against water and electricity installations. It was assumed to be the responsibility of the IRA. Actually, they'd been perpetrated by Protestant extremists. However, these incidents raised old fears and anxieties about the IRA. As water was taken from standpipes, O'Neill was blamed for the degenerating situation and the rebirth of the IRA. On the 28th of April, 1969, he resigned.
What is now impossible for me may be, I do not know, easier for someone else. But I have no regrets for 6 years in which I have tried to break the chains of ancient hatred. I have been unable to realize during my period of office all that I had sought to achieve. Whether now it can be achieved in my lifetime, I do not know.
The Unionist Party meets to elect a new leader who would automatically become Prime Minister.
Gentlemen, as Chief Whip of the Unionist Party, and as
There were two candidates. James Chichester Clark, thought to be more moderate than his rival, Brian Faulkner.
Major J.D. Chichester Clark, 17 votes. Mr. Brian Faulkner, 16.
Chichester Clark was related to O'Neill. British politicians at Westminster were following events in the province with increasing concern. Traditional Protestant summer marches were likely to spark off trouble. Chichester Clark would be urged by James Callaghan, Home Secretary and responsible for Northern Ireland, to ban all marches.
Banning these marches, which seem to cause so much trouble in Northern Ireland?
One judges each occasion on its merits and tries to act sensibly and with discretion and responsibility as the situation arises.